his way to a terrorist cell.
And the gold needs to disappear.
What's your plan? We gotta steal it mid-flight, 40,000 feet in the air.
We're taking the plane? The whole plane?
It's kind of hard to take half a plane.
Hello everybody, welcome back to Screenstars. I'm here today to bring you my review for Netflix's 2024 action comedy Lift. The film is directed by F. Gary Gray and it stars Kevin Hart, Gugu Mbatha-Raw, we have Sam Worthington, we have Billy Magnussen, we have Yoon Ji Kim, Jean Reno and Paul Anderson. Right. The film focuses on Kevin Hart's character Cyrus, who runs an elite crew of thieves. We see them stealing some art at the beginning of the movie. There is an Interpol agent called Abby who has a past relationship with Kevin Hart, who's on his... she's tracing him, she's following his activities, and then she's ordered by her superiors to bring him in on a job. To stop Jean Reno's character, who essentially is an international terrorist, and he's going to pay someone in 500 gold bars to do a terrorist act. And Kevin Hart and his crew ordered by Interpol basically to intervene, steal this gold bullion so that they can't pay these terrorists, so that millions of lives are saved. As you can imagine, with this being a heist movie, doesn't necessarily go according to plan. Right, what are my thoughts on Lift? I'm quite a big fan of Kevin Hart. That's the first thing I really want to say here. I think Kevin Hart has proven himself over the years to be a really very, very good comedic actor. I've seen him do dramatic roles as well, where he's been very, very impressive at times. I've seen him do, was it Fatherhood? And the other one with Bryan Cranston, where he looks after a Bryan Cranston who's disabled, a name escapes me. I thought he was excellent in both them films. So Kevin Hart, in my opinion, can act. However, I've never really seen Kevin Hart as a leading man. And I think while I don't dislike this film, I think he struggles to carry the weight of this film on his shoulders, if that makes sense. He doesn't come across as a strong lead in this film, in my opinion, Kevin Hart. And the film doesn't even play to his strengths. Kevin Hart has got great comedy timing, he's a funny guy, and he's given barely any funny lines in this film at all. They're trying more to make him look like the suave, smooth criminal sort of thing, you know. A bit like George Clooney in Ocean's 11 and Brad Pitt in Ocean's 11, but with a one-liner here and there, even though they had one-liners in them films as well. He just can't carry it off. He's not that type of actor. So I struggled to kind of get past that when the film started, because it starts with like an art heist right at the beginning of the film that actually he's done quite well. And I think once the film kind of gets going and I started getting used to his character a little bit more, I did kind of become a little bit more accepting towards him and his character. But as well, later in the film, when the film asks him to do action scenes and things like that, okay, he's a fit guy, he's a physical guy, but Kevin Hart's what, 5'5", 5'6". He doesn't pull off the action star. For me, it just didn't work. Him being like the lead and being like, heavily involved in a lot of the action scenes and things like that. For me, it just felt a bit odd, tonally a bit weird, doing Kevin Hart. When Kevin Hart do all those sort of things. And then you've got in this film the dialogue, which is at times cringeworthingly bad. I mean, I'll give you a kind of an example of what kind of writing we're looking at here. There's a scene fairly early on in the film, where Kevin Hart's character Cyrus and Abby, who's this Interpol agent who he's got a past relationship with, they have like this serious conversation where he kind of asks her about, why do you like following the rules or something like that. and she gives this ridiculous story about a painting getting stolen from her school when she was a child, and this school was very inspirational to her and everybody else, because her mum, who was a head teacher or something like that, you know, wanted this painting to represent to the children that they could do anything they want and they are special, and then this painting gets stolen and she never found out who it was, which is why she joined Interpol. And I mean, at that point your head's in your hands and you're just kind of like, oh my goodness me. And how they kept straight faces, I don't know, and how they didn't kind of push back against writing like that, I don't know. It came across just terribly. So the problem with the film as well is it takes itself far too seriously. It's a comedy, action comedy at times, and it does take itself a tad too seriously here and there. It needed a few more laughs, because and they could have had a bit more fun with it in the early part of the picture, and they just didn't, because when the actual heist takes place, that is when the film, for me, really drastically improved. All the heist stuff is great, you know, all the setup. I like watching heist films. I like to see how they set up how they put the plan together, what they're going to do. And even though I don't necessarily understand it all, I didn't understand it all in Ocean's 11 and those films, but you know, the film gives you confidence that they know what they're doing, and I think that's the key to most heist films. So when the heist on the plane takes place, you know the stakes are pretty high. You know it can't afford to go wrong, and inevitably things do go wrong. But it's handled well, and the action pieces, set pieces, are handled well, and there's big budget action set pieces, and you know, again, they're handled well, other than the fact that Kevin Hart's involved in a lot of them and you don't buy him as an action star. But for me, this film, if you like, the first half of it maybe is a 5 out of 10 for me. It's fairly uninteresting characters, a miscast Kevin Hart, and you know, a fairly run-of-the-mill heist movie, or preparing to be a heist movie. And then the second part of the film, when it actually is the heist taking place, other than a couple of missteps and an ending that, you know, is a bit over the top, but you kind of forgive it. It's an action film. It's done pretty well, the second part of the film, and this is the same director, I think, that did the Italian Job, you know, the remake with Mark Wahlberg. So he knows how to do a decent heist film, you know, he knows how to kind of present that. So it's kind of like a film of two halves, this. The first half, apart from the heist at the beginning, which I thought was pretty decent, but after that it kind of, you know, the bit where it should have been fun, you know, a few giggles here and there, we never really got them. Well, I certainly didn't think it was funny, and they didn't utilise Kevin Hart at all to his strengths, I don't think. And then when the heist happened, I was much more involved in the film, and I thought it was well put together and skillfully put together and very, very watchable. So for me, second half of the film bumped the score up a little bit. It was almost a 7 out of 10, I'm not going to lie. I don't think this is a terrible film or anything like that. I suspect there's going to be some out there give it harsh reviews, but you know, for like an hour and 40 minutes on an evening, new on Netflix, you're probably going to watch this and come away with it thinking, yeah, that was pretty decent, but I probably won't watch it again. So yeah, you could do far worse than this film, is what I'm trying to say. And I think Kevin Hart needed somebody else, another name in this film, to kind of team up with him, for him to bounce off. And I think that's when Kevin Hart's at his best, when he's with a Will Ferrell, or he's with a Mark Wahlberg, or he's with The Rock, or whoever. He always bounces well off somebody like that, and he didn't have anyone to bounce off in this film. And I think that's when Kevin Hart's at his weakest in regards to a performer, or most of the time, not always, but most of the time. Anyway, that's enough from me rambling on about this film. Thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoyed the review, if you found it useful, please click the like button. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing, and I will of course be back with plenty more reviews and content on the channel very, very soon.